Today we're going to talk about a conversation I had with one of my students yesterday, which allowed him to gain distance with his driver without doing anything spectacular. It was just a case of understanding a few things and maybe targeting the right things in his swing. And there's three ways, sort of three levers as such, that we said that we could pull, which was going to gain him some distance. So let me tell you a little bit of background on Dave. He's 68 years old. He's only just started playing golf 4 months ago, and to be honest, he's coming on really well. Now, what's great about Dave, he's very intuitive. He comes in, he asks a lot of questions, he goes and watches a lot of things, whether that's on the golf channel, on YouTube. He watches pros on the TV all the time. And what I really like about the conversation that I have with Dave is he takes on all this information, but he doesn't try to apply it until he's spoken to me. So a lot of things I've said to him, Dave, that doesn't matter to you, don't worry about that, that's not going to help you. And other things I've said, you know what, that's really good information, you should maybe try that, and sometimes let's try it in the golf lesson as well. So we always have interesting conversations, and he started to make good contact with all of his golf clubs. He's struggling mostly with the driver, as most of you do. And basically what he said yesterday is, Tom, look at my dispersion. He's measured his stuff on Top Tracer. He said, it's quite good. I'm hitting the ball pretty straight now. They're only missing maybe 15, 20 yards to the right. However, 120 yards with a driver isn't going to cut it. I want to be able to hit it further. How can I hit it further? Obviously, a limitation is my age. I'm getting a little bit older, but what can I do that's gonna help me out a little bit? And he was amazed at how easy we actually found it. So I'm going to talk you through three ways, three levers, as I've said, which we can pull on distance without it being too much effort. So number one, let me talk you through something that we call smash factor. Now, everyone's obsessed with swing speed. Everyone thinks, well, if I want to hit the ball further, I've got to swing faster. Sure, that's going to help. But what about your ball speed? That's the important thing. And we have something in golf called smash factor, which is the relationship between your club head speed and then your ball speed. And ultimately, if your club head speed is going faster, but your ball speed isn't, for whatever reason, maybe you're not striking it so well, then there's no point in that added speed. We can look for efficiency instead. Now, let me explain smash factor a little bit deeper, and basically it's just a number. You may have seen it before, that's 1.3, 1.35, 1.4, and basically the maximum that can be is 1.5. And for simple maths, what that means is if your club head is traveling at 100 mile per hour and your ball speed is 150 mile per hour, then that would be a 1.5 smash factor, meaning your ball is traveling 1.5 times the speed of your club head. Now, that is also the maximum that it is allowed to be. The equipment is regulated so that your golf ball and golf club combination can't start creating 1.7 and 1.8, and then we've got people hitting the ball an absolute mile. So smash factor is a really good measurement of efficiency of strike, whether we're hitting the ball well. And basically what we looked at was Dave was only getting a 1.35 smash factor with his driver. And like we just said, we can get up to 1.5 really. So we looked into why. And the first thing I want to tell you about is centerness of strike. And the club face with a driver is a very important thing. And I always sort of think this works like a trampoline ultimately. If we hit the middle of the club face, or you're bouncing in the middle of a trampoline, then you're going to come upwards faster, and the contact with the trampoline feels a little bit softer, so everything's a little bit more stable. Now, the closer to the edge of the trampoline you start to bounce, it gets a little bit less stable. You start to sort of get thrown back into the middle. It doesn't feel as good. It's more firm, and then also you don't go as high. You don't come up as fast, and then finally you start to get really to the perimeter, and that's where you don't get much speed at all, as you wouldn't with the trampoline. So we focused first of all on strike with Dave, and he'd also mentioned the height of his golf shots as well. He's kind of said, I'm not hitting the ball very high. I've noticed they are traveling quite a short distance and hitting the floor early. And that's going to be the next thing. We're going to talk about the launch of your golf ball, but just spraying the club face is a really good tool. And we noticed straight away that when Dave started hitting shots, a lot of his strikes were down in the bottom of the club face there. So if I start to make a few swings, and will kind of test me here, I'm going to try and hit low on the club face, then we see that golf ball launch quite low. We can see, if we look closely, my ball strike just down there on where I put that finger mark, and it's carried 157 yards. Okay, it's rolled a total of 219 because it's had a lot of roll on the top tracer there, but the launch angle was very, very low. So let's see, ball speed 142, launch angle only 4 degrees. So barely would have got off the floor. Okay, I've hit that maybe a little bit too low, but ultimately it's not efficient. So we've got low ball speed because we haven't hit the middle of the club face. So now I'm going to look at hitting a little bit higher on the face. Now straight away there, that felt a lot softer. There we are. There's that strike right in the center. So it felt better. Remember, the middle of that trampoline. And my ball speed there, now ball speed only picked up 6 miles per hour, okay? But because it's launched higher at 12 degrees, which again, we're going to talk about in a second, it's now carried 229 yards for a total of 246. So we start to see more distance from a better launch, but the middle of that club face slightly picking up that ball speed as well. Now, I've kind of merged two things together there because we're speaking launch at the same time, because that was another thing that we spoke about with Dave. He was only launching the golf ball at 10 degrees, and funnily enough, he'd seen that there were players on the PGA Tour who are launching the ball at 10.5 degrees, 11 degrees, sometimes a little bit lower, and he thought that that was optimal. But it's not for his ball speed. We've got to remember, if we watch Rory McIlroy hit a drive, or we watch a really long hit like Bryson DeChambeau hit a drive, if they launch the golf ball at 10 degrees, the amount of speed there, when you're talking 180 mile an hour ball speed, it's going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing until it gets all the way out to that 300 plus yards that we see golfers hit. But for Dave, as we mentioned before, he's 68 years old. He's swinging the golf club at 68 mile per hour. We managed to peak that up a little bit at the end, but swinging at 68 mile per hour, launching it at 10 degrees, that is not optimal. So what we started doing is we said, Dave, why don't we try and launch it more towards 15 degrees? We'll start to try and carry it a little bit further. That's exactly what we've done, and that's exactly how his ball speed changed and his distance changed. So how did we do that? Well, first of all, the obvious one. If we're hitting bottom of the face, it's going to start to launch a little bit lower. We hit a little bit higher on the face, it's going to start to launch a little bit higher. So very simply, what you're starting to figure out here is by just going and making sure you're hitting middle of the club face, you can change an awful lot of your golf shot for the better. But this is where we started to talk about setup, because we also noticed that Dave was hitting downwards on the ball a little bit. So his angle of attack was -3 degrees, and that was meaning that he was hitting it downwards a little bit. His dynamic loft on the club, so the loft that he had on the golf club as he made contact with the ball was a little bit lower as well. So that was going to get the golf ball launching lower than intended. So what we said was, let's just make sure that ball position is further forward in your stance. And then what we said is, if he could just reach down the right side of his leg just until his fingertips got to the bottom of his thigh, that then creates a spine tilt away from the target and create a positive angle of attack. So as he started doing that again, that launch then went up to 14 degrees. So what did I launch at before? I launched at 12. Now I'm going to get that ball position a bit further forward. I'm going to drop that right hand down. I'm going to make a swing from there. Now that felt a little bit high on the face, but that's now launched at 17 degrees. It wasn't much higher, it was maybe just quarter of a ball higher there, but that's launched at 17 degrees. Now all of a sudden, we've now seen that golf ball carry 247 yards, and that ball speed picked up to 152. So we're starting to see that ball speed increase a little bit because I'm coming and making solid contact up on the ball. We're starting to see that ball carry a little bit further, launch a little bit higher, and it's just about finding that optimal launch for you. Don't think that we want to hit it low and far, because if you haven't got the swing speed to do that, then you're going to find it very difficult. And then that leads us on to the third lever that we can pull, and it's about swing speed. And Dave asked a fair enough question. He said, Tom, I'm 68 years old. Am I really going to get swing speed? Is it realistic to try and swing faster? I feel like my swings may be doing this over the next few years. But in reality, everybody can do a little bit of something to gain swing speed. So I said to him, Dave, when was the last time you tried to swing the golf club as fast as you can? And he said, well, I don't, because we've spoke about that not being good. Don't try and take the skin off the ball, because I'm not going to be as accurate. I'm not going to hit the ball as straight. And he's completely right. But if you want to go and practice and get faster, then you've got to practice being fast. Now, I just give him this swing speed stick. It's the lightest one. There are 3 variations I've got here at the golf centre, so not much weight on the end there. And I just said to him, swing that stick as fast as you can. Just make 5 swings for me, and all of a sudden, he started moving really quickly. And I said, just visually, Dave, I can tell that that is faster than the 68 mile per hour that you're currently swinging. Does it feel quicker? He said, yeah, it feels quicker, but I don't feel like I'm going to make good contact with the ball. And I said, that's absolutely fine. So when we'd made 5 swings with this, what we then done is we grabbed his driver back, and he had a couple of practice swings where he was feeling that speed, hitting it as hard as he could. And the funniest part of it is he stood over it and he was ready to make the swing, and he said to me, this could go anywhere. And I said, that's absolutely fine. I don't care where it goes. So he swung as hard as he could. And I haven't struck that very well myself. It's come bottom of the face. He swung as hard as he could. The ball went off to the right, and we looked at his swing speed, and it was 4.5 mile per hour faster. Now, what's the point in that, you might ask, because he's missed the fairway. It's all over the place. But if we intend to try and get faster, we turn up to a practice session and think, I'm going to spend 25 swings being explosive, being as fast as I can. Then your body will get used to swinging at that speed. Now, generally, I say people probably swing the best at about 80%. So if your 100% swing is the one that you're inaccurate with, swing at 80% and you'll start to strike the ball better. But if you can go and increase your 100%, then guess what happens to your 80%? That gets a little bit better as well. So I've said to Dave, over the next few weeks when you go and practice, don't be scared to stand there trying to slog the golf ball with driver. Don't be scared of trying to be quick. Don't worry if you're hitting bad golf shots, because that's part of it. As long as you can return back to that 80% and you start hitting some good golf shots again. So by the end of the session, we'd actually gone from 125 yards, and the longest drive, including roll, the longest drive Dave managed to hit was 167 yards, which was an amazing difference. And all we actually done was we focused on strike. And if I'm honest, he used hand-eye coordination and a little bit of feedback. Feedback's important to be able to change that. We then made him tilt a little bit to the right to allow that launch of the golf ball to get up and get that optimal launch for his swing speed. And then finally we said, you know what, Dave, give it a smash. See if you can hit this as hard and as far as you can. And when his swing speed picked up to 72.5 mile per hour, that is then where we started to see the big changes. So don't think that all you can do is just try and hit harder. Don't think that there's only one way to get distance. There are multiple ways. There are multiple ways to analyze your ball flight like we've done there. And all you need to do is go and see a PGA professional, and they'll sort of give you a good understanding for where you're good, where you're not so good. It might be the spin on your drivers too much and you can decrease the spin. It might be a change in club that's needed because you need a slightly stiffer shaft or a slightly whippier shaft or more loft or less loft on your driver. There's so many levers that we can pull, and I've just spoken you through 3 of them there that we done with Dave yesterday to help him out. So thanks for watching the video. If you found this beneficial and if that's changed your knowledge a little bit or your insight into golf, then please do like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to come and see me at Trafford Golf Centre here down at our facility, then please do just see the link below and drop me a message with that golf lesson link there. And I will see you in the next video.